So the kit deal is now sorted. On the field, how are you feeling about the transfer activity that's been done so far and the prospects for the coming season?
Yeah, I'm feeling very good in the sense that, Pedro, when we brought Pedro in, I think I'm already as reckless saying, we decided to pay compensation for Pedro. And Pedro asked me the question when I met him. He said, "Why did you pay compensation? We could have got me at the end of the month for free." And I said, "The reason was for you to come in, work with the squad in a competitive environment. You know how you want to play football. It's going to be far more offensive than it was last year. Work with the squad, find out what they're about, and then come up with a player plan." And Pedro did that. So even I had a lot of comments recently when I was in Las Vegas at the NASA conference about we don't want to ever see a 5-1 defeat, that they had against Celtic before. But from Pedro's point of view, he did exactly what he was asked to do, which was go and test your players the way you want to play in a competitive environment and find out about them. And he could have battened the hatches maybe against Celtic and tried to get a 1-each draw or a 2-1 defeat, but he played the way he wants to play. So even though we lost 5-1, it's been very, very useful for Pedro. And out of these performances, he's been able to tell from an ability and character point of view what he's looking for the coming season. And he's done that on a player-by-player basis, and he's identified specific players for us. And at this point in time, we've delivered to Pedro more than 90% of the specific players, not the positions, but the players that he said, "I want that player, I want that player." And we've given these players to him. And there's another couple still coming in who are particularly identified players by Pedro. So in that sense, we feel that the level of precision and planning he put into player identification, both in ability and character of the players, and the fact that we've been able to get most of the players he wants, really bodes very, very well for the season ahead.
You mentioned Nasser there, and you were one of the guest speakers, of course, and just a couple of points that were expressed there. The first, you expressed your view that there is a distinct difference between what you consider a supporter versus a fan. Can you explain that point that you were making?
Yeah, I was asked the question because you get a lot of questions about the supporters. The supporters, are they following you? And what I said to them is, if I look at what I'm involved in and what I'm doing for the club, I'm doing it for the supporters. And I differentiate supporters from fans. And in all of the statements that I issue from the club, I'm very careful as to when I talk about a supporter and when I talk about fan. Supporters are always fans, but fans are not always supporters. So when I look at the club, I'm talking about those that are buying season tickets in record numbers every season. I'm talking about the 50,000 supporters that arrived at Ibrox, the first game of the season in the third division, and gave the record UK crowd. That's the supporters I'm interested in, not the fan who happens to be a Glasgow Rangers fan who criticised the manager the first game, who rubbish players with language that's completely intemperate. They're not the supporters are the ones that are coming at the club who continues to support us. And if I saw this year, for example, that the season tickets dropped to 30,000, then I would think the supporters are not supporting what we're doing with the club. But the opposite is true. We had record season tickets last year, and it looks like we're going to get a record again this year. And that's what I'm doing it for, the supporters. But there are some fans out there, and all clubs have them, but to me they're not actually true supporters. And that's a noise level that's out there that I actually completely ignore. I'm really interested in what the real supporters want, and I think what we are doing for the club is for the real supporters.
And finally, the second point that you made when someone asked you if you believe that Rangers could stop Celtic's efforts for 10 in a row, what were you meaning there?
Yeah, there was a discussion around the whole 10 in a row issue and whether I felt that we could stop Celtic getting 10 in a row, and I pointed out that the idea of 9 in a row as it's been for Rangers and Celtic, and someone trying to get 10 in a row, that's a competition between Rangers and between Celtic. We don't talk about having 40 in a row over Motherwell or other clubs, it's between ourselves. And the analogy I gave is that if Rangers had gone to play in the English Premier League and Celtic stayed behind in the Scottish League and Celtic won 20 league titles in a row, there's no point in coming up to a Rangers fan and saying we've won 20 in a row. It's only relevant if Rangers are playing. So for the 4 years that Rangers were removed from the league, that was suspended. So these 4 years disappear. So at best, Celtic have got 2 in a row if you've been generous to them. So in that sense, they'll never get to 10 in a row. They've got 6 titles. But as far as Rangers supporters are concerned, they've got 2 in a row. And they will never get to 10 in a row. I think there's more chance of Rangers winning 10 in a row than Celtic winning 10 in a row.